Okay, we're starting this immediately. This fucking film. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna be so angry. We're in the middle. Are we?
No.
Look angry.
I'm not particularly angry.
We saw a movie. How many hours ago was it we saw the other one?
Well, like 16.
4:22. This film apparently was supposed to start at 2, but it came out. It was 2 hours 7 minutes, so it should be 5. Where did the extra 15 minutes come from?
Trailers.
Really, trailers should really start before the film. Before the film official time, you know.
Yes.
You should have the film start at the time when it's going. And speaking of trailers, we had a trailer for The Croods, and I don't know what they're trying to do with the Croods, because the actual the monsters and shit they find when they leave the cave. How do they survive in the cave without like dying?
Or food.
Yeah. Why aren't they?
They invented farming.
They really should be albinos too if they constantly are in the cave. But not albinos, but
Peel.
yeah. Plus, all the monsters outside, none of them look anything like the creatures that have been around since human beings evolved, because human beings, there's a little bit of discussion about when exactly human beings became quote-unquote human beings in evolutionary terms. That
Homo erectus erectus.
Homo sapiens sapiens. But,
I'm a Homo erectus erectus.
well, you can be, but it was roughly between 200 and 100,000 years ago. So, giant turtle, bird, monster creatures, things flying around. The Croods will only make sense if this is actually the descendants of people who flew to an alien planet, crashed there, devolved into Stone Ageness.
It's not quite devolving. It's living with the situation at hand.
And they've forgotten like science and shit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. That's the only way the Croods is going to make sense.
It was Earth all along.
Anyway, we saw Oz the Great and Powerful. And I have to say, as a prequel to Oz, there was not enough, man-on-man prison rape. They didn't explain how anyone went to prison.
Huh?
You're not familiar with Oz, the TV show, are you?
Oh.
There you go. Oh, how about listening then? As a prequel to Oz, they didn't explain how anyone ended up in Australia. Captain Cook wasn't anywhere. They didn't really explain, Abel Tasman, the guy who managed to find New Zealand and Tasmania but missed Australia. His story would have been fascinating as a prequel to Oz.
Okay.
Attention everyone, Sam Raimi remade Army of Darkness.
You did?
Guy from the more modern day who knows about science and shit ends up in a mysterious different-ish world where magic is used, and he's a jackass. However, he then uses modern day science and shit in order to lead an army against overwhelming odds against magic evil.
Okay.
Sam Raimi remade Army of Darkness.
Black powder wasn't invented in this medieval setting. Have you any idea how long black powder's been around for?
Fireworks were invented by the ancient Chinese.
Yes.
So black powder was around for a long time. It just never was. It wasn't in medieval Europe. But it was better than Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. But as I explained on the way out of the cinema, there's a good case, not a 100% compelling case, but there's a good case that Syphilis is better than Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I really didn't like that. It was just Tim Burton doing a Tim Burton film with Tim Burton's favourite actors in it.
It's did screw when Bruce Campbell turned up. So, spoilers. There's a wizard.
And his name is Oz.
There wasn't enough Deadly Desert in this.
No, the Deadly Desert was sort of skipped over.
Yeah. And the Gnome King was fucking lying, because in the Return to Oz, he said that all of the emeralds
were stole from underground in his kingdom. Yet in this one, we clearly saw that emeralds are above ground and sticking out of mountains.
Yeah, and there's emerald flowers and shit, and there's a really, really traumatizing scene involving sunflowers. I do not like sunflowers.
Oh, yeah.
The, the little animated characters, the monkey and the China girl.
A girl made of China, not a Chinese person.
She was called the China girl, so
Yeah, no, but I'm just explaining for the people who may not have seen it.
okay. And she comes from Chinatown.
Which is also made of China.
Really wish there was like a dead body there, which had like part of its nose missing, so we could have been like, ah, Roman Polanski. But both those were horrendously incorporated into shots with actors. Every single
Yeah.
time they were interacting with an actor, it was like, I'm clearly not actually touching anything.
And the monkey and the doll had absolutely no weight. It was horribly done. They had it. It's like smoke being too big. It's something that's hard to describe, but they were clearly not weighted.
Yeah, and the really tragedy thing is, they got like one of the world's greatest puppeteers to puppeteer the China girl on set with the actors, so that they could, for the practice bits, so then they could do it and make it as accurate as possible for the CGI. Why couldn't you just use the fucking puppeteer? They did the entire scene with him puppeteering absolutely everything. You could have just used that and then digitally removed the fucking strings.
Here's the thing. I'm a massive fan of practical effects over CGI. I just think CGI never looks 100% perfect. Practical effects don't look perfect, but they look real. CGI can look amazing, but it never looks real to me. Except in very certain circumstances with little bits.
Like this, it was a lot less impressive than even Return to Oz or the 30s version, because with those ones, if you had special effects,
You had to sit there and think, how did they do that?
yeah, sometimes it's pretty obvious, but other times you have to work out how they did it, and sometimes you're not 100% sure. That adds another level to the incredibleness of the visual. Well, this is just a case of everything's done on computers.
And some of the rendering was horrendous. Like, at some stages, don't get me wrong, it looks stupid, but they obviously spent a lot of time working on it with the computer effects. Other times it looks like it was done in the original Half-Life engine, just jaggies and bad shadows, and it was just poor in places.
Yep, and the film's pretty sexist too. And the entire treatment of the Wicked Witch, giving her her origin, is absolutely fucking awful. Her entire thing, and then right at the end, it's like she's been defeated. So it's like, if you want, you can come back to us, which totally explains why I send Dorothy off to fucking kill you.
Well, at that point she was being a nuisance.
The characters in this, where they end the film, it does not explain where they ended up for the Wizard of Oz. And I'm sorry to say this, but ever since I heard about the casting of James Franco, I was disappointed, because it's not that I dislike him. He's very neutral for me. But he is way too young to be the Wizard of Oz.
He was the lead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's way too young, because going by the 30s version, the 30s one, he was in his 60s whenever Dorothy came. And depending on how old Dorothy's meant to be, you've got the woman going off to get married to John Gale, so that's obviously Dorothy's mother. So, if you go for the traditional book one, which is like 8 or 9 years old, he was there for like 10 years.
We don't necessarily know that Dorothy was born within a year of the marriage.
Yeah, but even if it was like 15, 20 years, if you look at the film from the 30s version, he doesn't really strike you as the sort of person who's been in Oz for that long, for 20 or 30 years.
I suppose. But no, it is one of those origin stories for the witch. Spoilers, by the way. Of this man liked me, then we had a misunderstanding, and he broke my heart because he was scared of commitment. Now my entire life's going to be based around that.
And then everyone in the Emerald City's like, oh my god. It's like, off-screen, they realize the fucking obvious. That the evil witch that's attacking the kingdom is attacking them from their place. She's sending out armies of winged monkeys. And it's like, about 3/4 of the way through, someone looked up and went, hey, that's coming from us! Wow!
All these winged baboons are coming out of our thing. Also, she was really obviously a wicked witch as soon as she was introduced.
Well, yes, it's Rachel Weisz.
But the one thing I will say, I went in expecting a children's film, but it wasn't a children's film, it was a full-on family film. At the end of the day, parents could watch it and get some enjoyment out of it as well.
At the end, he sort of, they show the genesis. The genesis of his special effects, giant floating head thing was quite well done. But in the film version, in the 30s version, the wizard in his wizard visage looks very different from the wizard in real life, which was smart because that gave the wizard the chance to walk around the Emerald City as a regular person and not be recognized. With this one, because he's exactly the same looking, James Franco is pretty much stuck in a couple of rooms.
Well, he done
Fucked himself up there, didn't he? Yeah, he really should have done something to make himself look all, powerful. Okay, he put on some eyeliner and he added a bigger mustache. I think he added a turban as well.
Yeah. That's slightly racist.
It's very 30s carnival wizard, though.
Yeah.
So there were some nice references to the other things, because you had the circus at the start was called the Baum Brothers, and you had him talking about second-hand coats. Now, second-hand coats, in The Wizard of Oz, in the 1930s, when you had Professor Marvel, who I think it was Professor Marvel. He was the guy who doubled as the Wizard in Oz, and he they got a bunch of second-hand clothes for him for costuming, and then during filming they looked inside the inside of his coat, and it actually said FMB or whatever it is, and they managed to track down. They managed to work out that the coat that Professor Marvel was wearing in the 30s version was a second-hand coat that was originally owned by Frank Baum. Mm-hmm. So his widow confirmed that. So nice little reference to the original thing. It's weird having Glinda being all like, "Oh, the Munchkins are one of my people, and I look after them," and all. It's like, I don't give a shit whenever the Wicked Witch of the East takes over them. Frank. I'm guessing that's Rachel Weisz.
Yeah, probably. Everybody remember, if somebody is ugly, you should hate them, and they're bad.
And the Wicked Witch of the West, her makeup looked fucking awful. She looked like the fucking Mask.
I was too busy looking at the green tits to be.
The costuming was terrible too on her, through the entire film, especially when she became the witch.
Yeah, originally I kind of liked her costume. It was out of place in this film, but it was something I'd like to see worn more. I like that kind of clothes.
She terrible.
It looked like something out of a Bad Alan Quartermain film.
Possibly.
Although she wore red to indicate that she's the Fire Witch, and then there's the Green Lightning Witch, then Glinda's the Ice Bitch, or the Bubble Witch.
Glinda... It's nice to see that Glinda is continuing her thing as the easily interpreted as chess master of Oz, because it's entirely possible that she was the most wicked of all of them, and she was just manipulating everyone with the magic of PR.
Hey, she was in the character who tried to kill someone.
She,
apart from the Wicked Witches.
It's entirely, the wizard was very forgiving of the Wicked Witch after she left, and, because he realized that it was, partly his fault that she went evil, but then, by the time Dorothy comes, he wants to kill her. I'm blaming the influence of Glinda. Glinda is manipulating him into arranging her death. So Glinda keeps her hands clean at all times.
If you watch the 30s version again, bear in mind, Glinda sees an opportunity when Dorothy crashes killing a witch. And then Glinda tells Dorothy to steal her shoes. Glinda, who can fly and transport other people by bubbles, then tells Dorothy to go on quite a dangerous journey through even the poppy fields and stuff, and doesn't point out the dangers to her. Then Glinda, I assume, had a hand in convincing the wizard to get Dorothy to go and kill the witch. Glinda is a fucking crime lord.
Yeah, she's a chess master. The nice little references to the other to the wizards, to Wizard of Oz characters with the automated scarecrows, and with the who I assume is the Cowardly Lion. Didn't see anything from the Tin Man. Tin Man got shafted in Return to Oz as well. It's like nothing happened to him. In the Return to Oz, it's only Scarecrow really turned up, but then that Cowardly Lion for some reason ended up in the parade. But the Tin Man, he didn't even get a hug at the end. Everyone else did. It's like I'm just standing over here, having no body because everyone cut me because I cut myself to pieces. Okay, fine.
I didn't like my body, so I cut bits of me off and replaced it with tin. Maybe that's why people avoid me. My character origin's really creepy.
Tin Man keeps getting shafted, possibly because he nearly killed 2 actors.
Oh shit, the battery's running out.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna have to be quick.
I enjoyed this film a bit. It was stupid in places, really stupid in other places, and really, really stupid whenever they made jokes about racism and bananas.
It was, yeah, this film was very generic, with bits where it was bad and bits where it wasn't so bad, and it was very, very easy to work out what was going to happen. Very, 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 very easy.
Very predictable.
Although, why did Glinda end up putting her wand out there for the wizard? Obviously, she knew he was there, and she was just, playing her hand.
Yep, chess master.
Yeah.
And his reaction was, "You're pretty. You can't be evil."
Yeah. All in all, sexist, generic, better than Tim Burton's Wizard of Alice in Wonderland.
If you are a 31-year-old woman with a 5-year-old kid, it's worth going to see with your kid. It's one of them films that comes out every year.
If you're a 31-year-old woman with a 5-year-old kid and you want your kid to be awesome, Return to Oz.
You want your kid to be awesome, let them play Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah, that as well. Apparently they're going to do sequels and stuff, and it's like, you don't need to do sequels to this film.
Sequels already exist.
Just adapt the fucking books. There's like 18 of them. Sorry, there's like 40 canon Oz books. Adapt the fucking books. They didn't need to do this. They don't need to come up with a prequel to the fucking Wizard of Oz series. Just do the fucking books. Another reason to love Return to Oz. They fucking took 2 of the books that had never been adapted, to my knowledge, and they adapted them. Do that. You could do a whole, James Bond type franchise on it and make the Land of Oz the star. But no, they're going to do another thing with the fucking wizard and the witches, and they're going to end up and maybe have Dorothy as a small part. I don't know what they're going to do, but I doubt they're going to continue on with the storyline. And wasn't Ozma's family in charge of Oz, and it wasn't the witches' family that was in charge of Oz?
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure that's what was... And Ozma, obviously, I think Ozma at this point, whenever the wizard arrives, was sort of imprisoned or not born or something, or with Mombi or whatever the fuck it was. But
probably with Mombi.
But the witches family do not run Oz. And stop romanticizing an absolute monarchy, America. Absolute monarchies aren't very nice. Ceremonial monarchies, where they are, there to look pretty and stuff, that's fine. But
yeah, the wizard basically spent his time setting himself up as a god king.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Wicked did quite well, because they had him basically being the fascist dictator, and he was in charge. He created the Wicked Witch by being a cunt. So
it's like, your prophecy says that I'm going to be your king. Well, I don't have a body. I am here in my ethereal form. Worship me.
He is the Kithrak Sadarak.
Oh dear.